Yo, what's up plant friends, and welcome to this leaf tutorial. My name's Robbie and I'm going to share with you a really basic method to planting up a tropical terrarium. So this is perfect if you're completely new to terrariums or if you are struggling to find some of the materials at the moment. So if you'd like to follow this tutorial, you are going to need your vessel, which is an open container, and that is wide enough to fit 2 5cm plants. So today I've got a Peperomia, I've forgotten the species name. This is a bit more of a tropical one compared to some of the more succulent nature ones you can get. I've then also got a Asplenium nidus or bird's nest fern, which is an epiphyte, so these should chill out together quite well. If you need help with picking out your plants for your terrarium, just go check back on some of my other videos. I have done one there for you. Other materials you will need for this, you're going to need some activated charcoal if you can get hold of it. That is quite important. It's more important for me because I've got a metal base, so I don't want any of the plants to be kind of set straight onto that metal base. Another optional material is sphagnum moss. I find this is a wonder material to use with the tropical plants, so bonus if you can get it. If you can't, don't worry. You would then need a suitable potting mix for tropical terrariums. So this is my own mix. It's a base of coconut core. It's nice, light and airy. It's got grit sand in there. There's some slow release fertilisers, some activated charcoal and that in there as well. But you don't want anything too heavy. And then I've got some gravel for top dressing. My little tip is that I use aquatic gravel. I find it's nice and fine, it's not too coarse, and it's great for kind of top dressing. And then I've just got some tools that I will possibly be using. Right, and finally, I've got my little watering pipette with water to help establish the plants afterwards. All right, let's get into planting then. Okay, so you want to start with your clean vessel, and I've got my activated charcoal, and this is going to be my base layer. Activated charcoal is supposed to act as a filter, and it's meant to take out any impurities in water, any chemicals and such. So I'm just putting a fine layer at the bottom, and like I mentioned, that is so I'm lifting the medium off of the base because it is metallic and I don't want the kind of roots to be sat straight on there. So I'm just lifting it up with the charcoal. Okay, and then the next layer is the moss. Of course, if you can't get hold of this one, don't worry too much, but I just love using it in tropical terrariums. So you just need a little handful, and that's going to go in there. Just use that amount for the moment. I'm just going to very lightly press it and compress it. Just going to put a little bit more towards the back there because there's a bit of a gap. A bit at the front there. So there we go, got a little bit of a layering system going on there. After that, I'm just going to get a little brush, give it a good little clean down. So I find this process really therapeutic, so it's really great if you're having a bit of a bad day just to sit down get your hands dirty and play around with some plants. Okay, so now I'm happy with that. It's time to add the compost layer. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I mix my own. So it's a base of coconut fibres, a bit of grit sand in there to help with the drainage, activated charcoal again, just because Bristol water is really hard, so I'm hoping that's going to take out some of those impurities. I've got slow release fertiliser, and I also tear up some sphagnum moss. So we're just going to get some handfuls in there. And you want to be mindful that you don't overfill your terrarium. If you do, your plants aren't going to have anywhere to grow into. So that's probably going to be enough for the moment for what I'm going to do, because you can always add more if you need to. I'm just going to level this out a little bit. So I've got these little seedling tools which work really great for open terrariums. I'm just really lightly compressing. You don't want to compact the compost too much, otherwise the roots are really going to struggle to get moving through there once they start growing. So with this particular shell I'm using, because it's open at the front, I want to be mindful not to overfill it, so when I top dress it's all going to come tumbling out. So I have kind of filled it to just underneath the ledge, so I've tried to leave it a couple of millimeters, and then around, kind of going up to this top join. At workshops I go into a bit more full detail about layering and adding some layers, and I get people to get really creative where they can add a little bit more medium up and around to create a bit more of a landscape. But I'm going to leave it there for the moment. I'm just going to check that I'm happy with, I'm going to move it out, happy with how much I've pressed it down, and you know what, I think I can get a tiny little bit more in there. Going to add a little bit more. There we go. And then once I've done that, I'm just going to give it another little clean down and tidy up. And there we go. Right, now it is time to think about the placement of the plants and repotting them into their new home. So I'm going to place this Asplenium at the back, and I'm going to then have the Peperomia kind of to the side so it can trail and flow out. So when I'm picking plants as well, I do like to think of one plant to be more of a focal plant, so this is going to be the Asplenium, with then what I'd like to call a bit more of a filler plant. But I think I explain a little bit more about that in my other video. If not, just let me know and I can maybe make up another one for you guys. So what you want to do, you can either use like a little seedling tool or your finger, and you just want to think about placement. So I'm going to kind of have him towards the back. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my finger and really push it in, and for me I'm going down to that kind of like moss layer, just above that moss layer, and then I'm just circling my finger around to open up the hole. So I don't know if you can really see that. I'm going to try and make it wide enough to get that plant's roots in there. Okay, so I'm happy with that now. So it's time to get the plant out of its nursery pot. So try to save some of the clear up. So ferns, as they're an epiphyte, they have quite a fibrous root system. I'm going to press them out, and look at that. Look at those lovely fibrous roots. So as these guys would be growing on something, these roots would be holding them in, so usually onto a tree or such. So because of that, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to remove a little bit of the top layer of compost. It's quite a beaten up Asplenium, that's why I love them. You can really beat them up. And what I'm going to do is just lightly press, just to break it up a little bit, get some oxygen back in there, and just a cheeky little finger up the bum to help things. So he's loosened up a bit, which is great. So now I can just move this out of the way, bring the terrarium back, and get him in his new space. There we go. And then once I'm happy with that, I'm going to use this tool to replace the compost around, and you want to completely cover the root system. So I'm just going to turn this around for me. Hopefully and that's going to, I'm just lightly pressing. You just want to secure the new plant in place. And actually, I think what's going to happen as well, I'm going to need to get some more compost to help secure him, which is absolutely fine. If you need to add more compost, you can add more compost. He's nice in the back. Just add a little bit more in there. There we go. Okay, and now for the Peperomia. Move him over there. Let's get this back out. Let's get this. Oh, look at that. Oh, he's very dry actually. Didn't look that dry earlier. He also dried out when I picked him out. So, oh, he is quite dry, but he's got some good roots there. You can see those lovely, lovely roots. This is very dry and very compact. So yeah, what I might do even is I could break him up and split him up and around the terrarium, and I might actually just do that. So I'm going to just really carefully prise them apart, because that is some of the good things about these smaller plants and trailing plants, is that you can easily break them up and propagate from them. So to tell you what, that's such a big bit. I think that is going to be plenty for that front, because I want to give them enough room to grow. So I'm going to leave him there. What I'll do actually quickly with this guy is just use the rest of this medium. Water as well. There we go. Right, let's get him out of the way. Alright, so we've got the Peperomia, we've got the Terrarium. So I'm gonna have him actually like right at the front straight away, pouring out. So I'm gonna get my finger in there again, going right down to just above the moss layer and making a nice big hole. There we go. Beautiful. And then just grabbing this bit. Because the medium is actually quite dry, I'm not going to try and dislodge any of it. But usually what I like to do is kind of really strip the roots bare of as much of the old compost as possible. Just in case there's any pests in there, I don't want to be transferring them into my new terrarium, but those roots look really good. And I didn't see any pests, so I'm not too worried. So there we go. He's kind of in there, wow, bursting out already. I'm just going to do what I did again and just secure him in. So the Peperomia would be a natural like ground cover epiphyte type, and you get lots of different varietals. So some of my favourites are the Peperomia pepper spot and the prostrata, which is really cutely named string of turtles. So here we go. Oh, it's already kind of like bursting free, which is really cool. And hopefully, if I give them a tug, they're not really moving, so that is a good sign. I'm just gonna actually, I do like just to use a couple of kind of pebbles for decoration. You can use whatever you like. I'm just gonna place these just around a little bit, just to give it a little bit more of a kind of feel. And then what I'm gonna do is then top dress with some cleaned gravel. Now, I like to, because my terrarium is open, I like to top dress, and that is to help with, one, I think aesthetics. I think it makes it look a lot cleaner, it looks and completed when it's top dressed, and also it stops any fungal gnats getting in there and laying their eggs and larvae in the medium. If you are experiencing fungal gnats, it's probably a sign that you're keeping your medium a little bit too wet. They're very common and they're easy to get rid of, but it does take a little while. But usually, yeah, it's just a sign that you've been a bit too heavy on the watering. So layer dry out a little bit further and just be a little bit more mindful. So when you're top dressing, you do want to make sure you're covering that entire surface. Otherwise, those pesky fungal gnats will get in there somehow and lay their eggs. So this is nearly done, and what I'm going to just do is use the brush just to kind of really help with moving the gravel around and making sure it's in place. And then if we look, there's some gaps around, so I'm just going to try and fill those gaps in. Okay, so I think I'm happy with all of the plants in there now. So, and all of the compost is covered with some top dressing. There we are. And the last thing to do is water your terrarium. So I've got these really handy watering pipettes that I hand out at workshops to help you. And what you want to do is really get in and around the base of the plants as much as you can. You do not want to water onto the foliage if you can help it. This can cause some issues if water is sat on your foliage for too long. So try not to. You can lift the plants up and water underneath. And what you want to do is just really slowly watch how that water is being soaked up by the medium. And once that layer is nice and wet, then the terrarium has had enough. So I'm just going to go through, do another little water, look at all of those sides and see where else it needs watering. So you can kind of see there it's a bit dry. Getting in. I'm now just going to wait for that to soak all the way up. And there we have it, my basic method to planting up an open tropical terrarium. I hope you found this video helpful and useful, so please let me know in the comments below. I really value your feedback. Alternatively, you can leave me a Google or Facebook review. That would be absolutely stellar. I will be getting an arid terrarium tutorial put together really shortly, so stay tuned for that, and a basic care one. But for the meantime, place this somewhere in bright and direct light, so kind of partial shade, nowhere with any too much intense direct light, otherwise you're going to scorch the plants. And you'll tell when it needs to be watered once the potting medium is drying out, and you'll notice the change in colour. So, like I said, I'll do another video on that for you. But if you're really enjoying my videos and the content I'm creating for you, please give me a follow on Instagram or find me on Facebook at Terrariums. It'll be awesome to see you over there. And I think that's kind of it for me. Yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. If you want to support my channel, I have a donations page on my website. I really hope you're all staying safe. And yeah, that's it. Thanks so much. And until next time, guys, keep on growing. Bye.